Right now, like without even leaving your chair, you can walk the bustling streets of Tokyo in high definition.
Yeah, or trade stocks on the London Exchange.
Right. You can read the daily news from Johannesburg and swipe through 100 potential romantic partners right in your city.
It's crazy when you really think about it.
It really is. And we tend to look at this incredible access and just assume it makes us, the most informed worldly humans in history.
Oh, absolutely. We equate all that data with actual wisdom.
But ancient Taoist monks would probably look at our hyper-connected, like constantly moving lives and conclude that we know absolutely nothing about how the world actually works.
It is a jarring perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we operate on this fundamental assumption that accumulating more data points, more travel, more experiences, more content automatically translates to a deeper understanding of reality.
Yeah.
We basically equate relentless motion, both physical and mental, with acquiring wisdom.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We're exploring this really fascinating essay by Zhu Feng titled The Scholar Stays Home. It's a great read.
It is. And our mission today is to test a radically counterintuitive idea for you. What if doing significantly less, staying put, and basically opting out of the modern hustle is actually the ultimate shortcut to understanding the universe?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. So Xue Feng takes this ancient Chinese wisdom and attempts to translate it directly into our modern digital age. Okay, let's unpack this. He starts with an old proverb. A scholar may not leave his home, yet he knows the affairs of the world.
Right. And historically, that proverb referred to a scholar surrounded by bamboo scrolls, studying history and philosophy while the rest of the world toiled outside. But Xue Feng updates this for the internet era with just striking vividness. The modern scholar sits motionless at a glowing screen. And from that one static physical position, they basically possess a godlike vantage point.
Yeah, you can witness breathtaking natural scenery without ever, buying a plane ticket.
Exactly. You can access the sum total of human knowledge in vast digital libraries instantly. And the essay doesn't just stop at high-minded intellectual pursuits either. I mean, the text gets surprisingly intimate.
Oh, very intimate.
Yeah, it notes that without searching high and low, you can admire stunning beauty or even, as the author bluntly puts it, make love with the person you desire without physical contact.
Wow.
I know, right? The sheer scale of what we can experience virtually is staggering. The argument is that in the modern world, you don't just passively know about the outside world from your home. You actively participate in it. You gain from it.
Right. And that technological marvel perfectly sets up the core tension of the entire essay. I mean, we've built the ultimate machine for virtual travel, yet Xu Feng introduces this famous paradox from Laozi, the ancient founder of Taoism, who warned, the further one travels, the less one understands.
Which, I mean, that feels like a direct attack on our entire modern educational and cultural system.
Oh, completely.
We are constantly fed the exact opposite advice. Think about the classic saying, read 10,000 books and travel 10,000 miles.
Right, the gold standard of learning.
Yeah. We're told from a young age that the only way to become a well-rounded, insightful person is to travel extensively, meet thousands of people, and absorb massive amounts of varied information. So how does the author reconcile Lowry saying travel makes you ignorant with this culturally ingrained idea that travel is the ultimate teacher?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Xu Feng draws a very sharp, almost controversial distinction between the, quote, general populace and someone who has awakened their deeper spiritual awareness.
Okay, so there's a split.
Exactly. The essay actually agrees that reading 10,000 books and traveling 10,000 miles is excellent advice, but strictly for the average person who hasn't yet grasped the underlying mechanics of reality.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, for the general populace, running around gathering empirical facts through trial and error is just necessary to survive and function in society.
So it's like the hard way of learning. You have to literally touch the stove to know what's hot. You have to travel to Paris to understand French culture. But what about the awakened person?
Right. For someone who has awakened that deeper spiritual awareness, the frantic gathering of external data becomes entirely redundant. The essay uses this profound, deeply Taoist image. You only need to see a single leaf fall to know that autumn has arrived.
Wow, so you don't need to fly to Vermont and drive through the changing foliage to grasp the concept of the seasons shifting.
Exactly.
The entire system is present in the smallest detail.
And the underlying warning in the text is about the danger of letting your thoughts constantly rush outward. When your mind is always seeking new sights, new sounds, new dopamine hits, you become trapped in the superficial, monotonous phenomena of the external world.
You're just skimming the surface.
Precisely. You might physically traverse mountains and valleys or mentally traverse a million web pages, exhausting your body and mind in the process. But the author argues you gain nothing but mere, knowledge and experience.
Just trivia, basically.
Yeah, you end up hoarding trivia while completely missing the deeper truth of how the universe operates.
It's like the mechanics of doom scrolling through a social media feed.
Oh, perfect example.
Right. You are absorbing content at light speed. Your mind is traveling outwardly, peering into 1,000 different lives, reading political hot takes, watching strangers' vacations.
And it's exhausting.
It is. You're consuming an unfathomable amount of raw experience. Yet, after an hour of this, you don't feel wiser. You feel drained, anxious, hollow.
Completely.
You fundamentally understand less about yourself and the world than when you started because your attention has been shattered into a million meaningless fragments. It is just a barrage of experiences with zero unifying insight.
And that psychological exhaustion you're describing is exactly what Xuefeng is pointing to. We confuse the frantic accumulation of data with the acquisition of wisdom.
Yeah.
To counter this, the text points to the sheer power of profound stillness, using the extreme historical example of Bodhidharma.
Okay, remind me who that is.
He was a Buddhist monk who famously sat facing a cave wall in deep meditation for 9 uninterrupted years.
Wait, 9 years just staring at a rock face?
9 years.
I mean, that is the absolute antithesis of our modern lifestyle. But what is actually happening in that cave? Where did Bodhidharma, quote-unquote, go if his body never moved?
Well, through absolute unbroken stillness, meditation allows a person's consciousness to detach from the immediate noisy demands of the physical environment. In the depths of that stillness, the mind enters a non-material realm.
So it's not bound by the physical space.
Right. It isn't confined by physical geography or the ticking clock. It can traverse time and space, soaring freely to envision limitless futures or understand ancient pasts. And the author's core argument is that this kind of profound, expansive cognitive experience is completely inaccessible to people whose minds are perpetually hijacked by the constant hustle and bustle of the outside world.
The noise simply drowns out the signal.
Exactly.
But I mean, let's play devil's advocate here. If I just sit at my desk doing absolutely nothing, ignoring the outside world, I'm not going to magically absorb information. I'm just going to become ignorant.
Sure, that's the natural fear.
Yeah, and the text itself even mentions the danger of becoming a frog at the bottom of a well, someone with an incredibly narrow, localized view of reality who thinks the tiny patch of sky they see is the entire universe.
Right, the classic proverb.
So if we aren't out there verifying facts and experiencing different cultures, aren't we just guessing? How does a sage actually learn anything practical while staying perfectly still?
It all comes down to a completely different definition of how knowledge is acquired. Shuiem explains that ordinary learning relies on inductive reasoning, gathering millions of specific examples to slowly form a general rule.
Okay.
Sages, on the other hand, operate purely on deduction based on immutable universal laws.
So walk me through how that deductive process works in practice.
Well, the essay offers a few foundational examples. A sage knows that when an apple is fully ripe, it will inevitably fall from the tree. They don't need to sit under an orchard for a decade, logging data on every single apple to prove it.
Because they understand the universal law of gravity.
Exactly. Or they know that water naturally flows downhill and seeks the lowest point.
Yeah.
You don't need to travel across 7 continents to verify that rivers behave the same way in Africa as they do in South America.
Yeah.
The underlying principle governs every instance.
Okay, sure, but the text doesn't just stick to safe topics like physics and gravity, though. It applies the same deductive logic directly to the messy reality of human nature.
It does. It argues that universal laws apply to human psychology and behavior just as strictly as they apply to the physical world.
Right.
The author states that without conscious cultivation or moral discipline, human beings operate on incredibly predictable, almost mechanical patterns. Like when people are full, warm, and comfortable, lustful desires inevitably arise.
And conversely, when people are desperate, hungry, and cold, Thoughts of theft and survival at all costs emerge.
Precisely.
And the essay is very blunt about this. It even points out that if young, unmarried people are just left entirely to their own uncultivated desires without societal structure, they will inevitably resort to petty crimes, illicit affairs, or destructive behavior. Yeah.
I mean, it's a rather grim assessment of our default operating system.
It is a harsh assessment, definitely, but it serves a vital philosophical function in the text. The argument is that human nature is not a chaotic, unpredictable mystery. By grasping one core concept, one fundamental truth about biological drives or psychological needs, the sage can accurately infer countless complex behaviors.
So you don't need to personally fly around the world verifying every single instance of human folly, political corruption, or romantic betrayal.
Exactly. By deeply understanding the root of the tree, you automatically understand the nature of every single branch.
And the essay goes even further, claiming that looking at the branches can actually blind you to the root. Here's where it gets really interesting. It quotes a philosopher who says, I see more clearly when I close my eyes.
Such a great line.
It is, but that seems like a paradox designed to frustrate us. Why would closing our eyes improve our vision? Because our physical senses are not just limited, they are actively deceptive. We are so easily fooled by surface appearances. The essay uses classic proverbs to illustrate the unreliability of quick observation. It says, distance tests a horse's strength, and time reveals a person's heart.
Right, so if you just glance at a horse in a stable or meet a charming person at a party, your eyes might register strength or kindness.
Yeah.
But what you see initially is rarely the true, enduring nature of the thing. The physical senses capture the illusion, not the reality.
And this taps into a profound Buddhist concept brought up in the text. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form.
Oh, right. Okay, let's explore that.
That is the philosophical bedrock of this idea. It means that the countless superficial variations we see in the world are ultimately illusory. Human essence remains identical from birth to death, and it remains identical across generations.
We just wear different clothes.
Exactly. We eat the same food, experience the same fears, walk the same fundamental paths as our ancestors did thousands of years ago. We just use different technologies while doing it. The core essence of what it means to be human never changes.
I love the analogy the author uses with water to explain this. You can look at water when it's perfectly calm, glassy, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Or you can look at it during a raging, tempestuous hurricane where it's tearing ships apart.
Yeah.
And our eyes tell us these are two completely different, unrelated phenomena. But the essence in both scenarios is exactly the same. It's just H2O. It's just water.
And because the essence never changes, the sage doesn't need to watch every single wave crash against the shore to understand the ocean. They, see without looking.
Right. And at this point in the essay, Shui Feng gets almost aggressively confident about this methodology.
He really does.
The author cheerfully admits to being a bit arrogant, warning readers that without his specific philosophical guidance, they will never be able to escape the cave of the silken web.
Now, that is a reference that might fly right past a modern reader, but it's a brilliant metaphor drawn from the classic Chinese novel, Journey to the West.
Okay, break that down for us.
So the Cave of the Silken Web is the lair of spider demons who weave these elaborate, beautiful traps to catch the heroes. In this context, the web represents the endless entanglement of worldly illusions, earthly desires, and sensory overload.
It's the perfect metaphor for the modern internet.
Totally.
We are constantly clicking, swiping, buying, thinking we're exploring the world, when in reality we're just getting more deeply entangled in a sticky web of algorithms designed to manipulate our desires.
Yeah, we're trapped.
And Zhu Feng says that whether people believe him or not, their entrapment in this web is as obvious to him as, quote, lice on a bald head.
What an image.
Right. The truth is glaringly apparent if you stop trusting your deceptive eyes. The author insists that relying on visual evidence only harms the mind, and that our modern reliance on cleverness actively obstructs the Tao, the natural, effortless way of the universe.
And that phrase, cleverness obstructs the Tao, is really the crucial pivot point of the essay. We've established that you can know the world without traveling, and see the truth without looking. But Seifeng builds to the ultimate, most difficult paradox from Laozi. The sage accomplishes without doing.
Look, if I adopt this philosophy tomorrow, sit at my desk and do absolutely nothing, my life is going to fall apart.
Natural.
I mean, the text itself acknowledges how absurd this sounds to the average person. Accomplishing without doing. How do you expect to harvest crops in the autumn if you haven't, broken your back sowing the seeds in the spring?
You can't.
You can't get a university degree without putting in years of rigorous study. You cannot expect a sumptuous meal to materialize on your table without the effort of earning money, buying ingredients, cooking.
Yeah, and you certainly can't expect to live a long, healthy life if you completely ignore exercise and medical care.
Right. In the real world, non-action sounds indistinguishable from laziness, and it sounds like a fast track to ruin.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it sounds utterly absurd when viewed through our modern, hyper-capitalist, action-oriented lens, where every outcome must be forced through sheer willpower. But Shui Feng is introducing the core Taoist concept here of Wu Wei.
Wu Wei, which is often translated as non-action, but clearly it doesn't mean becoming a vegetable.
Right, non-action is a notoriously tricky translation. It is better understood as effortless action or non-forcing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean sitting on the couch waiting for a sandwich to manifest.
Good, because that never works.
Sadly, no.
Mm.
It means aligning your actions with the unseen natural flow of the universe, rather than constantly swimming upstream, trying to micromanage reality and force outcomes through anxious hustle.
So how does the essay break that down into a practical framework? Like, how does trying too hard actually backfire?
The text uses a series of cultural paradoxes to illustrate how our anxious efforts often ruin our intentions. It mentions the concept of lose in the East, gain in the West. It also references the famous story of the old man on the frontier who loses his prize horse.
Oh, I've heard this one.
Yeah, initially, all his neighbors say it's a terrible disaster. But a few months later, the horse returns, bringing a whole herd of wild horses with it.
Hmm.
Then his son breaks his leg riding one of the new horses, another apparent disaster.
Right.
But because of the broken leg, the son is spared from being drafted into a deadly war.
So the constant shifting of the universe means that good fortune is always hiding inside bad fortune, and disaster is often lurking right behind a massive success.
Exactly.
You cannot accurately scheme for the future because the variables are just too complex.
Precisely. And Su Feng offers a beautifully poetic, practical example of Wu Wei in action.
Hmm.
When you intentionally plant flowers, they may not bloom. When you accidentally plant willows, they grow into shade.
Oh, think about what happens when someone tries to force a delicate flower to grow. They obsess over it, they overwater it, they add too much fertilizer, they constantly move the pot to chase the sun.
Yeah, and they kill it.
Right. Their intense, clever effort actually chokes the life out of the plant. But a willow branch, casually pushed into the damp earth without any anxious expectation, naturally roots itself and grows into a massive tree that provides shelter. The frantic effort ruined the flower, while the casual alignment with nature's flow produced the willow.
And that is the very essence of accomplishing without doing. To bring this into focus, the author contrasts two fundamental archetypes of human behavior. First, there is the schemer.
Okay.
This is the person who is constantly deploying their cleverness, calculating every angle, trying to manipulate people and events to avoid misfortune and secure an advantage.
Oh, we all know this person. It's the micromanager at work who is so terrified of a project failing that they insist on controlling every single email and decision.
Exactly. And what happens?
They destroy the team's morale, everyone stops thinking creatively, and the project fails anyway. Their frantic, clever anxiety created the exact disaster they were trying to avoid. They ran right into the fire while trying to outsmart it.
Yes. And the exact opposite of the schemer is what the text calls the virtuous person. This individual doesn't actively scheme for rewards. They don't try to outsmart the universe. They focus on their own internal alignment, practicing non-action by simply doing what is naturally required in the moment without agonizing over the future result.
Because they are aligned with the natural flow, because they aren't choking the flower, they naturally receive blessings.
Right. The text suggests that there is almost a divine protection in the unseen world for those who stop trying to force reality to bend to their ego.
And the essay offers a piece of advice that acts as a perfect antidote to our daily anxiety. It quotes another proverb. Rather than standing by the river envying the fish, it is wiser to go home and weave a net for oneself.
It is such a profound shift in where we direct our energy. Standing by the river, staring at the fish you want, feeling envious of others who are catching them, that is all outward motion. It is emotional and mental exhaustion that accomplishes absolutely nothing.
While going home and weaving a net is the practice of Wu Wei. It is quiet, internal preparation. You stop chasing the external reward. You find tranquility. You sit still, and you build your capacity. When the net is finally woven, you simply cast it into the water, and the fish are caught naturally. The outcome is achieved without the frantic, splashing struggle.
You let your vision extend far by focusing on the internal tools, rather than pursuing the restless, immediate effort of grabbing at the water.
It completely reframes our modern understanding of ambition. Instead of blind, busy action, the essay advocates for a state of calm, highly competent readiness.
It does.
So what does this all mean? Let's pull all these threads together. We started with the image of the modern digital native, sitting motionless at a computer screen, possessing the technological power to experience the entire globe without taking a single step. We moved to the ancient Taoist sage, who achieves a far deeper understanding of the universe just by watching a single leaf fall and deducing the universal laws beneath it. And finally, we confronted the hardest lesson of all. Our modern obsession with forcing outcomes through constant hustle and clever scheming often destroys the very things we're desperately trying to build.
To anchor this entire philosophy, Shufian delivers a concluding piece of wisdom drawn from the Buddha.
Okay, let's hear it.
The text quotes, "All conditioned phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows, like dew and lightning. Everything we are frantically chasing out there in the external world, the status, the experiences, the endless digital content, is ultimately fleeting, insubstantial, and bound to vanish the moment the sun rises."
We are exhausting our lives chasing bubbles and shadows.
We really are. And the essay concludes that the only real, meaningful difference between the enlightened sages and the exhausted ordinary people is this mastery of non-action. The sages deeply understand the illusory nature of the external hustle, and so they simply stop running. They realize that true power lies in stillness. As the title implies, the scholar stays home for a very good reason.
It flips our entire worldview upside down. But it leaves us with a truly lingering question to mull over long after we finish today. Think back to that opening premise, how the internet now allows us to experience the entire world, from walking foreign streets to engaging in virtual romance, all while sitting perfectly still in our chairs. If, as the Buddha says, all our worldly actions and external desires are just dreams and illusions, is our modern, hyper-connected digital life actually a bizarre, highly evolved technological form of Taoist non-action? Are we sitting still in our rooms, finally positioned to understand the universal flow of the cosmos? Or, by replacing the physical world with an endless feed of digital content, have we simply built a much more convincing, inescapable cave of the silken web to trap ourselves in?
That is the essential question of our time. In our physical stillness, are we becoming the enlightened sage, or are we just becoming the frog at the bottom of a digital well?
Something for you to deeply consider the next time you find yourself doom-scrolling through the shadows and bubbles on your screen. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a privilege exploring these ancient truths with you.
We'll catch you on the next one. Stay curious.